Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and welcome back to the Great Movie Ride Podcast. I'm your host, Gaston, joined by my co-host, Jerryofdom, and our special
Hello.
guest, and our special guest host, um, PR Disaster.
Hello, everybody.
It's Mollymauk. He's here as we enter part 2 of our Jurassic period with The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Let's dive straight into our introduction, which is, of course, our previewing thoughts. Who would like to open?
Oh, me.
Go for it.
Um, I again, like last time, I like the Jurassic Park movies because dinosaurs go raw and eat people, and I'm like, this is cool. And I thought, this movie can't be as bad as everyone says it is. I remember it not that bad, and so I wasn't expecting it to be.
Fair enough.
I agree with you there. I haven't seen it since I was probably 7 or 8. So hearing all the negativity, I'm like, oh, it's a Spielberg dinosaur film. You can't mess up dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got its quirks.
Yeah. When I first saw the film, I was considerably older than you two were when I first saw it. I didn't see it till I was in my teens. Because you guys are
30
old enough to
years
watch it
ago.
as you're a kid. You guys are the old ones.
I
You watched
watched
it
it
when
when
you
I
were a
was
kid.
3.
I always viewed it as an inferior sequel, and you can't really blame me because the first one is so spectacular.
Mhm.
But all that being said, I was intrigued to watch it again. I think I've only seen it all the way through once up until this time viewing it, so I was interested to see what I would think of it now, a few years later, and see what it was like.
Now that you're older and wiser.
Exactly. So let's transition to the brief plot sum up, light spoilers, of course, and that is 4 years after the original film, John Hammond sends a team led by Malcolm to Isla Sorna, the second island Hammond's company InGen used to make the dinosaurs. Their objective is to study the animals, but they come into conflict with a team led by InGen itself to bring some of the dinosaurs back to the United States. And how Malcolm put it, a bad idea in the long, sad history of bad ideas. So let's dive straight into our character analysis, starting with Dr. Ian Malcolm, who is once again portrayed by Jeff Goldblum, a mathematician and chaos theorist. He is on the mission to rescue his girlfriend, Dr. Sarah Harding. Jerry, why don't you start with Malcolm?
Malcolm, great in the first one, and he's still pretty good in this one. I don't think he really went downhill. He was trying to carry the performance, I feel like, in this movie.
Well, when you become the lead, go from a secondary protagonist to the lead.
I mean, as a secondary protagonist, everyone really liked him, so I mean,
Oh yeah, he
it's
was
still nice seeing him in the spotlight.
breakout character from the first one, for sure. Uh, Mollymauk?
Uh, I love how cool he is. He's got the black leather coat, and he's got his chest and everything, and that all carried in from the first one. His kind of cool demeanor and ability to try to make light even when stuff's going wrong. Uh, all in all, Ian was probably one of my favorites.
Mm. So Jeff Goldblum, he is, just as a background bit, he's the only one of the main three from the first film to return, and he's also the only actor to return for more than a cameo in this film as well. There are a few other characters that we'll mention a little bit later, but he's the only one to come back in a significant way. And I very much agree with what Jerry was saying, that he is still good, but different than he was before. And the interesting thing is, before, I would have complained about that it's like, why did they change his character so much? But upon watching the film again, what's so funny is my gesture making you laugh?
No. You should see what Eric said.
He's just a giggly boy. Don't worry about that. Continue on, fearless leader.
I saw that once before. Um, Actually watching the film, it feels like actual good character development because he's thrust into a situation that he's not used to, and he has to step up because of his kid being involved and his girlfriend being involved. And he never does anything that's like out of character or crazy. It's how Ian Malcolm would react to the situation he was thrown into,
Mm.
while also dealing with the PTSD of the events from the first film. I don't think it's quite as good as his original performance, but it's still good. So that transitions us to Dr. Sarah Harding, portrayed by Julianne Moore, Malcolm's girlfriend and a behavioral paleontologist. She volunteered for Hammond's expedition and is already on the island at the start of the film. Mollymauk, why don't you start us with Dr. Sarah Harding?
As pretty as she is, I do find that her inability to believe Ian Malcolm's stories really played a dangerous role in the movie. Her carefree ignorance of the warnings and the dangers of being around any sort of large animal was evident from her like very first scene.
Mm-hmm.
As helpful as it is to have a behavioral paleontologist, was it? Behavioral paleontologist on the team. She did put her own research first above the team who had a child with them.
Mm-hmm.
And probably seems to be putting a strain on her relationship the way she's just disregarding everything her boyfriend says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Um, Julianne Moore, her performance, like I've seen her in good films, but in this film, she is so wooden that when there's this emotional argument scene, she looks like she doesn't care the
Mhm.
entire scene. There's no depth to her performance, and she consistently makes dumb decisions. Consistently. She is one of the leads, but has the intelligence of a background character.
It
And
was surprising how many times she
uh-huh.
got them into trouble.
While she is not the worst character in this film, in my opinion, she is worse than everyone from the first film, even Gennaro. Jerry?
Um, on the topic of how she likes to investigate these big animals and all that, when I see a little chihuahua barking at me like it's about to rip out my legs, I'm scared of that thing, let alone these big, huge dinosaurs that were extinct. And you're gonna just snap a picture as you're a ruler apart, and then your camera goes, and you sit there and you're like, camera work.
And then runs closer to the
I know!
Stegosaurus. Like,
I literally looked, I'm like, she runs the opposite direction of where they are. And then the Stegosaurus goes behind her. I'm like, you could have darted, and then it would be behind you once you got past where it was. But no, run into the middle of the three of them. Smart idea.
Only reason she wasn't turned into as a bagel was like pure luck, and the dinos decided to just keep moving rather than bludgeon her to death.
Yes, let's climb into this random log. Seems like a great
A
idea.
Brilliant
rotting
choice.
tree stump that it will protect me from this 8-ton beast.
Proceeds to chop it in half
Mhm.
almost. Wow, you really thought about that one.
Anything else you want to say about Dr. Harding?
She's a bit of an idiot.
I
A
could,
bit.
I could talk about her decisions for hours, but I think it's best if we just.
All right. So let's talk about Roland Tembo. I'm gonna butcher this last name. He is portrayed by Pete Postlethwaite. Maybe. He's a guy that if you see his face, you've no doubt seen him in something. He's regarded as one of the greatest actors of all time. He was in Inception, which is where most people recognize his face from. He's a big game hunter who adheres to his own strict moral code. He is hired by InGen to lead the second expedition to the island. Let me go first. That his performance is so good in this film. He commands the screen. He's my favorite character in the film, my second favorite character in the whole franchise, right after Robert Muldoon from the first film. And I really like his role in this film. He's working with the antagonist at the start of the film when we meet him, but it does not take long to see that he is the smartest character in the film and also one of the kinder characters in the film, prioritizing everyone, including of the opposing team, including
Mm.
protecting the psyche of the kid, making sure Dr. Harding wasn't hurt. Um, I really like his role. And unlike most of the characters in this film, he feels like an excellent Jurassic Park character. Like he wouldn't have been out of place in the first film. I really like Roland Tembo.
Talking about hunters in movies, almost always they're the do anything for the kill type. But Roland has like multiple times stated how he won't hunt illegal tigers in the deleted scene, or how it's only the males as to not kill infants or females, and just taking all the legal steps to be a decent hunter to make sure it's an honorable hunt, which is
Mm-hmm.
very rare.
Yeah, it's usually the trope to be the main villain is the hunter. But
Exactly.
that's the difference between a big game hunter and a poacher. Poachers
Hmm.
are illegal, hunters are licensed individuals who follow those rules. And Roland Tembo is one of them.
Hmm.
All right, my opinion. Um, uh, he, I like the part when you first meet him, and he just rips into the dude, but
To
he's
the
trying to
villain.
order, let's build a base camp right here. Are you stupid? Like, you want to live here while we get eaten by dinosaurs? Great idea. You really thought this one through, buddy.
You want to build a base camp or a buffet?
And then him trying to call off the names of dinosaurs, and then just
Yeah.
throws the paper blows out of his hand, and he just starts describing it.
Apakia, Friar Tuck, Elvis the Pompadour.
But he's entertaining those scenes and the emotion he shows near the end.
Mm-hmm.
Too.
I also like his relationship with his other hunters. I want to say Carter Dietrich.
Dieter Stark.
Dieter Stark was it? Okay, my bad.
Yeah, and Carter
Yeah,
was the
Carter was.
driver.
Yes,
With
of
the
course.
headphones.
So his hunter and of course AJ,
Yeah.
his his closest companion. I liked how they, again, not common to see for side hunter characters to have actual relationships with the characters, and that was very nice to see. Very uh in a movie where everyone's kind of room temperature IQ, it was nice to see like a group of people acting like humans. That's why I liked him and his hunting party.
Mm. So let's transition to our primary human antagonist, Peter Ludlow, who's portrayed by Arliss Howard. He's Hammond's nephew, who has been appointed CEO of InGen. He takes part in and funds the second expedition to the island. I believe it is Jerryofdom's turn to open our discussion.
This dude makes the type of decisions of a villain that likes money as if I was the villain and had money. Like, man's dumb, and I'm dumb. And I was like, man, stop making these dumb decisions. And I sat there and I'm like, I'd probably do the same. Oh, build a base camp here because we just got the dinosaurs. Makes perfect sense to me. The hunter. No, and I'd be like,
This is a game trial,
away.
Mr. Ludlow.
But yeah, he's a bit of an airhead too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Though, kind of makes sense because he's a privileged little boy.
Mm-hmm. Very guarded life, you can tell. Not used to being out in the field and stuff like that.
He plays that role of what he's supposed to be very well, and a lot of people are dumb in this movie, but he's one that should be dumb.
Absolutely.
He's meant to be unliked.
Mm-hmm. Mollymauk?
Uh, I don't know if we're talking about the deleted scenes yet,
We
but
can we can mention him, sure.
okay. The first deleted scene with him shows him calling a vote to remove his uncle from power, from the InGen Corporation, as he believes the way he's doing things just wasn't making enough money,
Mm-hmm.
and claiming to put the people first, he stepped up and started hiding stuff, started keeping stuff from the news.
Silence is
Buying
expensive.
silence. Yes. And it was at as he's going, he keeps this obsession with the infant dinosaur towards the end. And I think it was poetic that
Mhm.
how he goes.
Ludlow, he's greedy, he's vain, he's slimy, he's a bureaucrat, much like Gennaro in the first film. But whereas Gennaro was still a decent person, this guy's just straight up the villain.
Mhm.
And as Jerry said, he is played very well. And as Mollymauk said, he is despicable, but he's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Like this film has more than a few bad performances, but Arliss Howard's performance as Ludlow is very strong. He is exactly what he's supposed to be. You're not supposed to like him, and congratulations, nobody does. He did it well.
When the boat was coming into the dock, and he clued in, he left the dock. He
Yep.
didn't say a word to anyone. He not even a breath of warning before those
Nope.
people were turned into boat paint.
Yeah.
Pretty
Uh,
reasonable though. Run.
yeah, I would have at least said something if it were me.
I
but-
would. I mean, I would have at least ran when I
If
saw the
I
boat.
literally, if I was him and I said, "There's a boat coming, it's gonna crash into us," everyone would be like, "Heh, what a dummy," and
It's
would
also
stood there, so it doesn't make a difference.
So let's
Uh,
talk. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say the first scene we really see him in, after talking with Ian, as he's leaving and Ian tries to stop him, he's careful. This suit costs more than your education. Immediately setting the bar as money's first. My status is right up there with money, and then how people think of me is
Mhm.
I really could care less.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Nick Van Owen, who's portrayed by Vince Vaughn. He is an experienced documentarian, photojournalist, and environmentalist. He is sent by Hammond with side plans to sabotage the other expedition. Mollymauk, I believe it is your turn.
Ah, yeah. Nick is a name that you give to people who just have the IQ. Sorry, Nick.
Sitting here as you start roasted to a nickname, you're like, "Hi."
So Nick he's an eco-terrorist who thinks he's always right.
Yeah, that's
His
accurate.
has to be told not to light up a cigarette in a dinosaur park. He has to be told not to spit just saliva into someone's hand. He has to be handheld through this entirety of this mission up until he gets to the satellite building. And all his 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 Earth first ideas screw over the entire team.
Yeah.
With just freeing the animals haphazardly, with taking shells out of shotguns. It's you can love nature, but I mean, like, your immediate party of humans should come first before a dinosaur.
Yeah. I have a question for you both. Can Vince Vaughn seem anything other than bored in any role ever? Because
I'm
even in Dodgeball, he looks bored. Like, the movie's good because of Ben Stiller, Alan Tudyk. Um, he just looks bored always.
the eyebrows for sure,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's almost in like so many roles. I don't know if all of them or whatever, but he's always loudly chewing gum,
Mm-hmm.
very visibly, and
He,
like throughout the entire movie.
yeah.
It's part of his character that he's just he's the type of guy eat an apple to show he's an a-hole
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah.
He's
Apples are good.
he's a fairly
There we go,
well-known
Nick.
actor, but in everything I've seen him in, he can't act. There's another. He seems bored with everything that happens, and his facial expression never changes from this.
He's gonna be so mad when he listens to this podcast.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure. The one good scene where I actually felt like he was acting was the waterfall scene, but that lasts like 2 minutes.
Yeah. And it is just screaming as loud as he can.
Yeah. He's
Which
an important character to the story. He
he
causes a
is.
lot of the problems,
He causes a lot of the problems.
but he's also my least favorite character because of what I mentioned, how bored he seems, and he makes the dumbest decisions, I think, in the whole film. Maybe second worst. Dieter Stark's pretty bad too, but he makes some really dumb decisions. The
He
Rex
did
infant.
credit where credit's due, though. He did pull through at the satellite building. He got there safely and like left the rest alone, but he was
Somehow got
technically
there
right.
safely. Makes
He
zero
figured
sense.
one person could make it through the desert, make it through the jungle faster, and he was right. He got there
Mhm.
quickly, got the radio, got the helicopter. So he did. I'm not gonna say redeem himself, but definitely had a decent part in the escape of our
Yeah.
main cast.
Jer?
Um, guy seems a little. Yeah.
Stunned. Just
Yeah. I still don't. That gum scene just was frustrating. And then
like,
he
why is
doesn't go
that?
pick up the phone. Just go pick up the phone. Ignore her.
No.
Pick up the phone.
If your phone in your like RV expedition trailer goes off, there's no way it's a telemarketer. That's something important and always should be prioritized.
Hi, what's your security code?
Floor duct cleaning.
We've been trying to reach you at your car's extended warranty.
You want a free cruise? No. Honestly, they might want a free cruise to
But
get
I'd
off
take
that
that
sinking
free cruise.
island.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about Kelly Curtis, who's portrayed by Vanessa Lee Chester. This is Malcolm's daughter, who stows away in the support trailer to be with him. She was also cut from her school gym team. Why do I mention that fact? Because there's nothing else she contributes to the plot. They forced in a kid character who is like they were going for a Lex and Tim thing, and we praised Lex and Tim last podcast, but she makes hands down the dumbest decision in the film right off the bat. Her very first decision is the dumbest decision right away. To be fair, from then she doesn't make as terrible decisions, but
That's fair.
it starts off with an absolutely terrible decision, and then she contributes nothing
No.
until the other thing. There's the incredibly dumb gymnastics scene that we'll talk about when we talk about the spoilers.
That's yeah.
But I want to specify that the acting isn't the problem with her. I'm not crapping on the child actress. Her acting is fine. The writing is the problem with her. The writers didn't know what to do with it. She's probably not better written than Lex was, but Lex's involvement in the story was much more important and meaningful.
She's a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was
Jared.
just a kid character.
Yeah.
Honestly, though,
Token kid character.
Token.
for
Go ahead.
some of the things she does are pretty reasonable. That they're quite understandable. Other than sneaking away.
Yeah, like afterwards she makes better decisions. Like
I'm gonna
leaving
bring
the
up the
trailer.
ones. Yeah, like she tries to act all like, oh, I'm not scared. I don't know about you, but then it kicked in, and I'm like, that's pretty reasonable. 'Cause,
Yeah.
honestly, I'd be like, yeah, you know, it's crying out loud and knowing that there's bigger things.
I praise that decision. That was
Mhm.
a very smart
One of the
decision.
few smart decisions during that whole part.
Mhm.
Let's save the bus. Why?
Yeah. It's do you have anything else you want to add, Jerry?
No.
Mollymauk?
It is hard to talk about like child actors, especially when they mostly just follow the group around. Like, yeah, why are you taking the kid to all the plot points? That's weird. But that's really about the most until like the end and at the beginning. She does have her parts. But like for the T-Rex, she was in the high. For half the opening island sequence, she was in the trailer. Like it proved that you could make the movie without her, without sacrificing anything.
Yeah.
And the fact that they kept her out of those scenes means she had no bearing on those scenes.
Yeah, that's true. Um, so we just have a few more to talk about here. Let's talk about Dieter Stark, who's portrayed by Peter Stormare. He is the second in command of the InGen group under the command of Roland Tembo. He is a cruel and combative individual. He is pretty much the secondary human antagonist, and I believe, Jerryofdom, it is your turn to talk.
Who's this guy again?
The guy who zaps the compy.
Oh, this idiot.
Yup.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why they talked him up like he's this important person, but he did literally nothing, and then you know,
Mhm.
um, he served no purpose here. He was there, helped catch a parasaur that didn't even go too well. And that was
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Mollymauk?
Peter Stormare, I love watching him act, and Dieter,
Dieter, yeah.
Dieter, he's no different than any other Stormare role, with being the kind of heartless, violent antagonist, and I feel like for Roland's law hunter, Dieter is the antagonistic poacher type
Mm,
counter to that.
yeah.
Definitely someone who Roland only works with because he's worked with him for so long.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's he goes out of his way to cause fear, hurt animals, screw with the others. He tries to start a fight immediately on meeting our protagonist team.
Yeah.
Gets all up in the face of Nick.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's like,
yeah, that's his character. He doesn't say
yeah.
much other than being a tool.
Yeah. He's decently played because the character knows exactly what the character's supposed to be. He's an obnoxious jerk, and Peter Stormare delivers perfectly an obnoxious jerk.
Yeah.
But whereas Ludlow is perfectly crafted in the story, Dieter Stark is very thinly written. And he's very cruel. He doesn't have a ton of screen time.
He
This
just feels like he's there.
It all works against him. And he's not the only character we're going to talk about who is built up as being important, and I imagine in the original draft of the film, some of these characters were more important. Dieter Stark likely being one of them. Three more characters to talk about. Next, we're going to talk about Ajay Sidhu. It's portrayed by Harvey Jason. That's Roland Tembo's hunting partner. He is smart and kindly, though underused. I can't help but feel that he was supposed to be much more important. The deleted scenes would allude to the fact that there was supposed to be more there to bringing Roland to the island with that scene in Mombasa.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the main cast, focuses on him quite a bit during certain segments, like when they find his bag. And they say his name like this is like it's supposed to be a big moment for the audience, whereas his name had only been said out loud a couple times up to that point. So it feels like he was supposed to be more important. I like the character, to be fair. He's just severely underused. I think I accidentally took your go first, Mollymauk, so go ahead.
Not much to say about him that hasn't already been covered, as he does have minimal lines, minimal acting. The long grass was a very good scene, and again, the deleted scenes would have brought him more into a rounded character, and definitely built on that. Am I allowed to talk? Oh, okay.
We leave the spoilers out for
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come back to that then.
Okay. Jerry?
He's the nice telemarketer guy you meet on the call. That's about all I have to say, because that's about all I could think of the dude.
All right. Well, then let's talk about Eddie Carr, who's portrayed by Richard Skiff. He's a field equipment expert. He is skeptical at the start of the film as to what will be found on the island, and since I accidentally took his turn, Mollymauk, why don't you open up with Eddie?
You definitely inspired some love for Eddie in me as we watched it together. I absolutely love how competent he is. He knows what he's doing, and he also knows when to and when not to act. As with the Spinos,
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus at the beginning. He could have dropped them, and he probably had every right to, seeing as how they were endangering um, Dr. Harding. But he realized that they're herbivores. They're doing what they're doing to survive. They're not
Protecting
trying
the
to.
baby.
Yeah, they're protecting the baby. They're not trying to attack. We them the main group started it. But he, being the equipment guy, he has everything set up that the team uses. The trailer, the hide high, all that stuff comes in very very handy. And yeah, he's
Yeah.
throwing 20s. I don't know. Uh, he's pouring hot chocolates. He's really good at what he does, and he's funny. He's very
Yeah,
funny.
he's very funny. Jerry?
He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
This movie really made me have a hard time paying attention to half the characters. So, him, I mostly just remember because of the bus scene.
Mm.
And also him saying, hide high, like repeatedly at the beginning. And I'm like, yes,
This is the high hide. You hide. High.
that is correct.
Optimal fighting height.
Yeah.
He looked like he didn't want to do this job, but also did at the same time.
I really like Eddie. He's my second favorite in the film. I love his dialogue with Malcolm, especially in the one scene on the island when Malcolm's trying to radio the boat to get Kelly out of there, and he's like, "Eddie, this thing isn't working." And he's like, "This isn't a landline or a phone booth. You gotta wait for a good signal, and you gotta have the right frequency set." And then he's like, "Okay." And he walks up and like, "Eddie, is there any reason to believe that the radio in the trailer might work?" And then Eddie, if you're feeling qualified, you might, I don't know, flip the switch to on. And then when Malcolm hits the thing, violence and technology, not good bedfellows. I really like Eddie. And
He knew
like,
what to say.
and whenever problems occur, he like that moment where he takes a moment, just, what can I do? Okay. He carries a big section of the film, literally.
Yeah.
Ed's Richard Skiff is just perfect for the role.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get to do as much as he should, but he is easily one of the best characters. He's the only character of the main protagonist who is fully competent. Malcolm's about half competent. He makes some dumb decisions, but he's Malcolm. He's supposed to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
Eddie is competent, just straight up. And finally, Dr. Robert Burke, portrayed by Thomas F. Duffy. He's the InGen Hunter's paleontologist. He is referenced by Dr. Harding before he appears, indicating his importance, and he thinks he's smarter than he is. I think, Jerry, it's your turn, but do you
Is this
remember?
the guy that's got the cowboy hat?
Cowboy with a big
Or
beard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, what is on his cowboy hat? Because I keep thinking it's a spider.
It's just a tassel.
Yeah.
Okay. So my head, ever since I was little, I always thought it was like a dead tarantula that was sitting there. I always hated it.
Understandable.
It's like a rope with a fancy design.
He he doesn't do that much other than talk big.
Yep.
And he's not.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
To be fair, in his own like field of study, he probably is super smart.
Mm.
But Sarah Harding like kept disproving
And everyone else.
Oh, okay, fair. But he was disproved by discoveries made on the island. So back on mainland, he probably, yeah, I bet he was as smart as he thought he was. But it's all the new information.
Yeah. He's the poor man's Grant. And
Hmm.
as a fun little fact, his design is based off of Grant's design in the original novel. That how they describe Grant in the original book is how they designed Robert Burke.
Oh.
Um, he has little impact on the plot, and because of that new information being thrown around like it's set in stone already, even though no one outside that island knows it, it just serves to make him come off as a fool instead of an intellect. And it's like, what were they trying to do with Burke?
Hmm.
I have no idea. All right, let's go to the effects and cinematography. Starting, of course, with the effects. Um, Anyone have a specific thing they want to say
I
first, or?
don't think there was any improvements. I think it was about the same, to be honest. It was a
I
little bit of a letdown in some things, but
Mm-hmm.
most of the time it seemed about the same.
It looked really good, except for the drop kick, and I think the Stegos walking past was kind of
Mm.
like even on that like 4K TV, it they looked like low res
Yeah.
when they were walking. When they were at the nest, it was better, but just that the first dinos we see should be magnificent.
An incredible moment.
Well, let me put it this way. You guys watching on this big fancy TV. I'm watching on this big fancy TV that the copy of the movie was burnt off a computer. So it looks like that it's from 1997 still on the TV. So those
There you go.
effects don't look that out of place because I'm like, this whole movie's fuzzy. And it's
Mhm.
also half the movie is nighttime, or
That's
most of it, and I'm watching it in a bright room, and I can hardly see the
The
movie half the
contrast,
time.
yeah. The effects in this film, I feel very similar to Jerry. They're just okay. I feel they weren't as strong as in the first film, which I found odd because this was made 4 years later. But I think that's because they'd used more CGI and less practical. And there were, for the first chunk, there's more in the daytime with the dinosaurs shown, like the
mm-hmm.
stegos. So they're not doing those clever lighting tricks to hide the flaws of old CGI like they do in the first film. It does get better. Like the Rexes especially look great for pretty
Of
much the
course.
entire film. But they're mostly just seen at night using those lighting effects to help with that. Um, and
They sorry.
1997 CGI, right?
Yep.
Like it's
Of course.
hard to judge it too harshly, but you would expect 4 years after the first one blows us away in context. I expected more from The
Hmm.
Lost World.
They forgot it was not just a monster movie. It's supposed to be a whimsical family adventure as well.
Yeah.
The nothing's ever gonna top that. Welcome to Jurassic Park scene.
Yeah.
That did everything right. Took
Welcome
everyone
to
out of their
Jurassic World.
seats.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is like, oh, Stegos are walking, and that's the first time as we see. We don't get the glamour shot till the last scene right before credits.
True. True. To be fair, it's still better than a lot of the CGI at that time.
Oh no, for
But
sure.
the fact that there wasn't huge improvement still feels like a step down from the first film, in my opinion. Um, so now let's just go quick to the cinematography here. I actually like the cinematography in this film. I think it's pretty strong. It's one thing that pretty much all the Jurassic Park films do well. It doesn't have as many iconic shots as the first one, but there is some really good framing of shots, especially with the T Rex. There are
Mm,
so many shots of it that is really, really cool, including the one shot towards the end at the harbor when with the city backdrop was really
yes,
cool.
of course.
And pretty much the entire chase sequence is brilliantly framed. I really do like that. Um,
It it's got good parts, but again, watching it in a bright room and not being able to darken the walls because the walls are a bright gray is very hard to watch such a dark movie. And I'm like, I'm missing things here, but I know something. They're looking at something here that's important. I can't tell. It's too dark.
You would have benefited from seeing that in the theater, eh?
Yeah, I would have with
mm.
how old quality it looks.
Uh, three shots in particular stand out to me. The ones that like after watching, I've been just seeing all ever since. And the first one is the opening shot with the rich yacht goers on the beach. I mean, it's one continuous shot. You follow the guy with the wine, and then it lingers on the wine in the ice bucket, and it lingers on the parents, and then oh no wait, lingers on the guy with the sandwiches, then moves to the little girl taking the sandwich, and you follow it almost pretty much from where they came onto shore, all the way out to the grass line where she finds a compy and feeds it.
Mm.
It was one long shot, and I absolutely love long shots like that. They're
Tracking
so hard
shot.
to do, and so hard to do well.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember one thing: the fields.
The
When they
long
get out
grass.
to yes, the long grass. When they get out to the long grass, you can see them coming in.
That's a
And
scary shot. Really well
on
done.
my TV, with how I couldn't tell, but I always remembered watching when I was little, and I would see it coming in, and I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
The
Hey,
obviously yes, the San Francisco scene when the
dog.
yes, the dog, when the InGen forces, Roland and Ludlow and all that, when they are coming in down the big game trail, and it's jeeps and bikes swerving in and out Jumanji style,
Mm.
following this swarm of herbivores clearing out through the path. That all the shots in that were amazing, from the interior of the cars looking out to there was one where the jeep goes over the camera. It's
Mm.
just wonderful shooting.
Mm.
There is one part where I will complain. It's the part where after the main group ran through the field and the protagonists run through the field and they fall down. There's a part where it looks like they accidentally kicked the camera. Because you see the camera just go boosh, like as they come right into it. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's effect, but it also like came in and the camera went really fast and they cut to the next scene.
Hmm.
I
And
didn't
I'm
notice
like,
that specifically.
Didn't
That's
notice that.
interesting. I wonder if, because I have the remastered DVD, I wonder if they removed that, have a little error on yours.
illegal
Yeah, yeah, you might have a little error on yours. Like I don't know. That's interesting. You said there was a third shot, Mollymauk, you wanted to talk about?
Yes, and that was with Peter Stormare as he went off to relieve himself. He kind of got more and more lost in the woods, and he's at a shallow river as compies are following him. And the camera
Mm.
takes the place of one of the leading compies as we're looking up at this man throwing rocks and stumbling through the rough terrain, kicking water up at the camera. And that was, I love chase cameras like that.
Mm.
Absolutely amazing point of view, so fun to watch.
Mm.
Very Spielberg.
Yeah, very Spielberg. All right, our next section is the writing and score, and I'm gonna get out of the way with my thought. The writing in this film is not good. Much of the dialogue feels clunky. There are plot contrivances to the extreme, and the only well-written characters, in my opinion, are Tembo, Carr, Malcolm. I like how those three characters are written, but you saw the size of that cast as we went through this
That was
podcast.
a big cast.
Those three are the only ones I would consider well written. The writing is bad for so many of these characters. Like Kelly, her writing is terrible. But then, however, there are more serviceable writing parts like Nick Van Owen and Sarah Harding, and it's the performances that let that down. So it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well,
I don't know if
actually,
it's
from what I just remembered on who's the female main?
Sarah.
Yeah, half the movie she looks like she just got a camera flashed into her face the entire time. She just looks like I just woke up. What do you want?
Yeah, just woke up is a
Yes.
good way to describe that, actually.
And the writing? Yeah. There wasn't any good lines. They kept copying the "life finds a way" line. 'Cause they knew that it was such a big hit when Ian Malcolm said that in the first one. Like, man, that's a really good line. And this one they repeated like 4 or 5 times. And I'm like, this is taking away of
Mm.
the impact of that line.
I like as far as the lines go, like I've mentioned a couple of the ones I like from Eddie. I like Roland Tembo's final line. I've spent enough time in the company of death. Like that, especially in context when we get to the spoilers, that's a brilliant line. I like Malcolm, the oohs and the ahs, that's how it starts, and then there's the running and the screaming. I like
Mhm.
that line too, but it's not as good. Like from the first film, we talked for a good like 5 minutes about the various lines we quote from the film, like "Welcome to Jurassic Park," "Clever girl," "Hold on to your butts," "Life finds a way." All of these lines are iconic. Not so much in this one.
Also, Ian Malcolm in this movie has like a sixth sense. Because every time something bad's about to happen, he's like, grab onto something. Or
Mhm.
Yeah.
something's about to happen. I'm like, bro, you're sitting in a bus. There
Yeah,
should be nothing you're expecting. Grab
yeah,
onto something.
yeah.
Yeah, he does seem to know what's about to happen.
He read the script.
He read. I'm one of the few.
um, so the score is always good in Jurassic Park
Mm.
films. It's still amazing. It's still great. I have no complaints. The theme, of course, is the absolutely swelling, tremendous theme. And even the new additions, the new tracks, really good at building tension. The long grass sequence, the waterfall chase
Mm.
sequence.
The waterfall.
It's great. That's one of the few things or probably the only thing I have no complaints about in this film is the score. The score is great.
Yeah, I got not much to say about the music, but it was very good.
I got nothing.
All right.
I'm not a music reviewer.
Okay, so warning, warning, heavy spoilers ahead. Let's dive in to the plot.
Scary times.
Yeah, it scared me with that, dude.
So, as with the previous two podcasts, if you got something to add in, just feel free to stop me and add it in. I will be doing the same when I have stuff to say. 4 years after the events on Isla Nublar, a wealthy British family docks their yacht and has come ashore on nearby Isla Sorna, unaware that the island contains genetically engineered dinosaurs. Their daughter wanders off and is attacked by a group of Compsognathus, but is saved by her father and yacht crew.
I already have a complaint
Go
about
for it.
this part. This girl makes zero sense. She looked at a compy and went, "Are you a bird? This thing looks nothing like a bird. It looks like a lizard.
It looks like a featherless bird, dude.
It's got no wings.
It's a featherless biped. It's a man.
It look it looks like a lizard." And then
Yeah,
she starts throwing her food at it.
I I
Bro,
don't.
I'd be eating that. I'm not giving my food away to this bird.
Okay, well, like how many people feed bread to ducks in the park? I do see that
You're
part.
not supposed to, because
No,
it
you're not
kills
supposed to.
them.
Who cares? And like that's not the point.
And why did they just dock on some random island?
That is kind of a
Because
White
they talk
privilege.
about it later, like, oh, this is like the 5 deaths and all that, and then here they are just chillaxing on this island. Like, wouldn't the people driving the boat or anything hear anything of anything going on? Like, come on,
White privilege.
they're
yeah.
not even white, half of them.
Well, I mean the family who pays
The
the
fam
money.
the family pays the bills. The manservants don't have a say.
Yeah. My complaint is the I understand why they went with the choice of a second island with Isla Sorna, but it is entirely contradictory to what is presented in the first film. You
Yes.
see the dinosaurs being hatched. You know how many species exist because that's all plot points in the first film. Isla Sorna contradicts it almost
And
entirely.
They
also that there's 5 islands.
well, only two of them, unless they decide to retcon something else. Only two of them are being used with dinosaurs, but they could choose
Then
to
why do they
retcon
call
something.
it the 5 deaths if there's only 2 deaths?
Oh, there is 5 islands, but
Yeah.
why that's all got the name, I have no idea.
Like,
Because I know in the game you can build a park on all 5 of them.
Yep.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I saying? Yes, with the two different islands, 2 separate islands, we come across human ruined buildings. At like the end of the the third and the second movie, it could they could have just had the ruined buildings of Jurassic Park 1 for Lost World.
Yep, they could have.
I don't see how really any need for the second island changes.
Yeah.
Changes them.
Especially seeing how Jurassic World would turn around and put it back on Isla Nublar.
Exactly.
Which you would think that would be in poor taste, seeing what happened on Isla Nublar before, that if they were doing something, they would do it on Sorna. But even just from the base thing, Isla Sorna, the way Hammond describes it, that's where they were bred and built. Which, first off, denotes making adult specimens instead of eggs. That's the first step of the contradiction. And the second step being, if that were where they were made, and the showroom was Isla Nublar, there should be way more buildings, way less jungle. If that's
Yeah.
where they were made.
That should be a processing plant and
Mhm.
science lab factory.
Anyway,
They only ran into like one radio tower,
yeah.
which is
Isn't the 3rd movie supposed to take place on that same island they do?
Yeah,
in the
and it
second
does
one?
show some more buildings, but at the same
I have a
time,
few complaints about that now that I'm realizing these things. I
We're-
have a few complaints.
we're going to talk about it afterwards, obviously, because our next podcast, Jurassic Park 3, stay tuned for that. So let's keep going with this one, but yeah, I've got some logistical complaints as well about Isla Sorna. It's a very problematic place. An ailing Dr. John Hammond invites mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm to his residence to discuss the recent incident. Hammond's company, InGen, which created the dinosaurs, is now headed by Hammond's nephew Peter Ludlow, who used the incident to take control of the company from Hammond. Ian learns that InGen originally cloned the dinosaurs on Isla Sorna, but the island was abandoned during a hurricane, and the animals were released into the wild to fend for themselves. Ludlow wants to exploit the island's creatures to save InGen from bankruptcy. Hammond asks Ian to join a team who will document the dinosaurs in their natural habitat in order to encourage a policy of non-interference. Ian's girlfriend, paleontologist Dr. Sarah Harding, was hired and already on Isla Sorna. Upon hearing this, Ian reluctantly agrees to go to the island, but only to retrieve Sarah. Fitting motive. Much better than Grant's motive in the 3rd film, but we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Like, this one
There-
makes sense to draw Malcolm back.
There is
Yeah.
also that random scene right after the cruise scene and before he goes over to John's
In the
house.
subway, yeah.
Just in the subway, and the dude does the weird
Yeah.
like what? I don't understand this at all. Though that part when you first see Ian Malcolm when he's first shown in the movie with the poster behind him, I thought it was a horrible green screen, and then he pans up to the subway. I'm like, oh right, he's in the subway.
I can see why you think it was a horrible green screen though. That subway scene, I didn't even mention it in the notes because it is completely redundant and does
It's
serves
there for no reason.
purpose.
Coming back to my love for the tracking shot
Mm.
at the very beginning where it pans and the parents they run over to see what's happening to their daughter, and the mother does the loud scream, and it cuts into a subway screeching.
Mm.
I thought that was cool, and like it's screeching and Ian's yawning, so he's got his mouth open. Like that was a cool parallel. But like, what's the point of the subway scene?
It doesn't have one.
He could have taken a cab to the building.
Yeah, it's and an estate like Hammond's, based on what we briefly see of it, are we supposed to believe that's somewhere near a subway station?
The subway station stops at Hammond's house.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. I missed that.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. Ian travels to the island with Eddie Carr, an equipment specialist and engineer, and Nick Van Owen, a video documentarian and activist. They find Sarah amidst a herd of Stegosaurus, but she is insistent on staying to continue her research because she's dumb. Ian is shocked when he discovers that his daughter Kelly has stowed away with the team in the trailer, which serves as their mobile base. I can't believe Kelly in this moment. You said don't do what I say. That's her excuse.
To be fair, that does sound like something a kid would say.
I
It's not, I'm not forgiving, but like in other
She's
situations,
10. How is she able to cook lunch?
okay, most people can do that.
no,
man.
most people
Okay.
people can make lunch at like 10.
I just want to specify that I hope to believe that, my dad's going to a place he doesn't want to go to. I'm a sneak in because he said don't listen to him. Like I would like to think that kids aren't that dumb, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they
Yeah.
are. I would like to think not, but oh.
I mean, you know me, so that disproves that.
Ludlow and a mercenary team arrive on the island to capture dinosaurs with help from big game hunters Roland Tembo and Ajay Sidhu, Roland's second in command Dieter Stark, and paleontologist Dr. Robert Burke. So now we have the two teams in motion. We have a pretty awesome sequence of the InGen hunters rounding up various dinosaurs from the game trail. I do like how the scene goes. It really shows how, after their talk about non-interference, how they're very much just wee-ha! Let's go.
Just cause as much problems as physically possible.
It reminds me of the villains from the first Jumanji movie. Just how they're tearing through the woods on like dirt bikes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very like the one guy on a bike during the game hunt. That's a terrible idea.
Yep, in between the brachiosaur leg on a
Oh,
motorcycle.
man. I mean, it would be cool to ride that, but I mean,
Bad decision.
bad decision.
Malcolm's group realizes that Ludlow and the InGen team are planning to take the captured specimens back to the mainland to an unfinished Jurassic Park attraction in San Diego, an amphitheater zoo, which Hammond abandoned in favor of the park on Isla Nublar. Nick and Sarah free the captured dinosaurs, dumb, allowing the animals to wreak havoc across the InGen team's camp, destroying their only way to call for evacuation from the island. On the way back to the trailer, Nick rescues an injured Tyrannosaurus Rex infant that Roland tried to use as bait to hunt its male parent. Nick and Sarah treat the infant for broken leg, but the Tyrannosauruses arrive.
Sorry, are you going to tell our wonderful captive audience how the baby T-Rex broke its leg?
Sure. So, in the book, Mr. Nick Van Owen drops the kid. They don't show that part in the film. They don't explain how its leg got broke. In the book, Nick Van Owen drops it. Bad enough to make it bleed, not just a broken leg, bleeding.
Yes, because I know for a fact what Roland didn't butcher up its leg.
Yeah,
Just because of how he talked about preserving the lots.
He just chained it to a little post in the ground. Like, sure, not like, he's so nice, and it was a tactical decision, but he didn't brutalize an infant. Nick dropped it.
Nick probably dropped it down a hill
while chewing gum. He was switching out the gum.
I can do this one-handed.
Well, where's the bubblegum flavor?
And it gets worse because Nick and Sarah take the infant to the trailer. I don't know if I specified that. To the trailer to do this. Kelly runs to the high hide where Eddie is. They do not tell Eddie what's happening. Even when Malcolm and Kelly arrive to get Kelly out of there, they do not tell Eddie what is going on. The competent one. They choose not to tell him. This does lead to a hilarious scene where Malcolm decides to go back to the trailer to get their attention. Eddie tells him, the harder you squeeze on the rope, the slower you go. Malcolm steps off and just like immediately hits the ground, and Eddie looking down. Well, I would have squeezed. Personally, I would have squeezed a bit harder. I do love that line.
That was good.
So the Rexes arrive and they reclaim the infant, wreck the trailer, and as the trailer's going over the edge, in comes the competent one, Eddie, to try and save the group. He gives them a rope, ties it to a tree. As he's doing that, the mud, it's raining, the trailer starts to slip, so Eddie uses the Jeep's cable to tie to the trailer. The rope gives way, so he goes back to the rope and does that. As he's there, the Jeep starts going in that moment of pause. Okay, what can I do? Jumps in the car and throws in reverse, buying time, keeping the trailer on the cliff edge.
You know what I like that entire time? What they're doing in the bus? They sit there holding the rope. They don't try climbing out.
Nope, they just sit
They
there
just-
and then make jokes while Eddie's literally carrying everything.
Can I get you guys anything? Double cheeseburger.
Yeah. Eddie, I love in that scene when Eddie's running back out, the look of disgust, or she'll just like, oh. And then of course the revving of the engine, the squealing of the tires draws the Rexes back. Eddie's second rope job does the trick and supports them. Sarah Harding fails at climbing, putting them all on the bottom of the rope. The Rexes brutally devour Eddie in one of the most brutal deaths in the whole franchise.
Oh yeah.
And the trailer without the Jeep goes flying off the edge, but by pure happenstance, that doesn't make sense if you think about how vehicles are laid out. Trailer manages to go right around them, and they go out through the already broken front windshield, and Eddie Carr pays the price for their incompetent decisions, and that makes me so mad when competent people die for a stupid decision from other people. I hate it. Oh.
Yes. That is very clear.
It's a good sequence, but
It's a very cool action sequence, but it's Eddie didn't deserve it.
yeah.
Nope.
Ian, Sarah, Nick, and Kelly are rescued by Ludlow's team and are forced. They
This-
never explain how they get Kelly.
I don't get that. How, like Kelly, and then first of all, how would they know where their camp was? Where did they find them, like the rope? There's so many things that don't make sense of how they got there.
Finding them is not hard for me because Roland Tembo's shown how good of a hunter he is. That he could have just followed the trail of blood Nick Van Owen left back to the camp.
Or it could be like the noise of screaming and roaring and smashing.
And
True.
explosions.
Yeah. Finding
Like
them,
a
I
Michael
don't.
Bay movie there.
Yeah, finding them, I don't have a problem with. Although when the trailer hits the rocks at the bottom and explodes, that shot did not look good.
No.
Oh, I know. No.
It's one of the more iconic scenes from the movie.
Yeah. So when reunited, with all the communications equipment that was in the trailer and then in the camp, it's all gone. So they are forced to work together. They walk as a large group to a distant abandoned InGen base to call for help. During a break, Dieter Stark goes into the wilderness alone to relieve himself and just assumes the guy wearing headphones can hear him, and of course he's wearing headphones, so he doesn't.
No.
So Dieter Stark gets left behind, and in an extremely drawn-out sequence that spans a good chunk of time, the compies... Oh, I think I forgot to mention that he chose to attack a compy with a cattle prod earlier.
That's
So-
why he went so far into the woods. He was chasing it.
Yep, and then the compies team up and eat him. Very well executed death scene where he goes over the log and then you just see the red seeping into the water underneath. Like, that's well executed, but
I don't understand how. Like, I understand cops are mean and all that, but it seems like he got eaten real fast.
all of a
Like, jumping
sudden,
over the
really
log.
fast.
I was like,
yeah.
these are little compies that would take a long time to chow through your body. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's
Already drawn out.
it's
so
already
long.
gone out. They probably just went, okay, well,
and also, why did he have to walk so far away to go to the bathroom? You're in this jungle that is full of eating monsters.
I was gonna say I would have just went behind a tree or told my buddies
Yeah.
to turn around or something. Like it's a jungle.
Yeah.
Even if there wasn't dinosaurs, you don't want to
Yeah.
be crawling around in there.
I also forgot to mention that during the when Nick Van Owen frees the dinosaurs in the InGen camp, Dieter Stark is standing in the side of the frame of one of the scenes, the big shot of the Triceratops, and it's like they didn't tell Peter Stormare where to look, as he is never looking where he should be looking that entire scene. It's like, what is happening right there? That's man. Um, so that happens to Dieter Stark. I do like in this scene how Roland Tembo, where he's talking to Nick and talking to Sarah, like take Sarah's side. Are you injured? When he sees the blood of the baby Rex on the coat, how no one realized that that's what the Rexes are following. Like there's a hint that Roland Tembo thought about that, and then Ludlow grabs him, and then Nick sabotages Roland's rifle, the one thing to keep everybody safe, takes out the bullets. And then the other thing I like is when Dieter's missing, he takes the couple people with him and then tells, I think it's Dr. Harding, he tells, no one tells the girl because he doesn't want to panic the kid. I really do like Roland. So they set up camp for the night after they find what's left of Dieter Stark. And they are ambushed by the mommy and daddy Tyrannosaur. Carter, Mr. Headphone Guy, gets trampled by the InGen hunters and then the T-Rex in quick succession. Roland Tembo goes to face off against the buck, finds his gun's not working, so he begins to fight with a tranquilizer gun that Eddie Carr was talking about earlier in the film. It's a really powerful tranquilizer. Burke runs with the protagonists into a waterfall, and then a snake.
I have a complaint about this running to the waterfall part. Because how many people are with them running into the waterfall? There's this whole group of people running in there. More than just the protagonist and this one dude. There's a whole group of other people. They all run in, and then they all just vanish.
So I think that's because of the quality of the film you were watching. They keep going past the protagonist turn off. That's why the Rex isn't in the long grass scene, because the Rex went here and they went that way. Again, I can see with the contrast and the lower quality film, you may not see that at all.
No.
Yeah.
I could easily see why. But they do run separately. A snake lands on Dr. Burke and he panics because obviously a snake is more dangerous than the T-Rex, and he takes a step away from the wall and gets eaten because he's an idiot.
That's what would have happened with my mom, because she hates snakes. If a snake climbed into her shirt, she would have done the same.
Okay, but like, what does your mom hate more? T-Rexes attacking or a snake?
A snake.
Okay.
I can probably see her screaming more about a snake crawling into her shirt than a T-Rex chasing her.
Well, you could scream more all you want. Would you jump away from the safety of the wall? Like he doesn't even try.
To get it off.
He doesn't even try to pull the snake out. He just
goes,
and then the Rex eats.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be that stupid.
Yeah. And everyone else flees into a field of long grass containing a pack of velociraptors. Ajay tries to get them to avoid the long grass because experienced hunter, long grass, that's where predators are going to be hiding. He tries to follow them to get them to turn back. It fails, and he and the other 24 InGen hunters are wiped out by velociraptors. For those keeping track at home, this is a much higher death count than the first film. At least that is seen. We don't know exactly how many lives were lost off screen on Isla Nublar, but a lot of people evacuated on the boat, so maybe not that many. But there's quite a lot in this film. All that's left at this point is Malcolm, Harding, Van Owen, Kelly, Ludlow, Roland. Am I forgetting anybody?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Of a cast that was the length we talked about, plus 32 InGen hunters,
Yeah.
we're down to 6.
Yeah.
So,
Yikes.
yeah. Ian, Sarah, Kelly, and Nick manage to reach the InGen base and fight off 3 velociraptors, while Nick, of course, radios for helicopter extraction. Um, After being rescued in the helicopter, actually, you know what? Let's talk about it. I was gonna.
You wanna go there?
My mind wanted to leave it out, but it's got to be talked about. The gymnastics sequence.
He didn't have to keep flipping.
Let alone the fact that a 10-year-old is not enough to yeet a velociraptor. I don't care how much momentum you've got. Not to mention it looks bad.
It
Visually.
looks like it was done by someone else on the team.
I also don't understand the part where they try to get her to crawl under the door. I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna try to have her climb under? Just open the door. What are you doing?
Well, the raptors were on the other side.
Then
But
why were you trying to have her climb under it
They,
then?
they,
Like,
dug out the other wall and they're like,
Yeah.
ah,
literally dig
that's
out.
So the raptors are digging under the door, so they're digging under the opposite wall. And then the raptor just heard them digging and went around.
yeah, it's
Because
very-
raptors are very smart.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
Oh,
not
that scene frustrates me. I'm
hard.
like, why are you digging? Just find another way out.
it's not a hard way to figure out.
They don't even
Digging's a
look
lot of
around.
effort.
Yeah, they don't even look around. They like back up and then immediately start to.
Bro, you're not a bunch of miners. Like, come on.
It's just.
Only one miner.
Yeah, exactly. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that. It's as bad as people say it is, that sequence. And like the raptor is about to eat Malcolm, like kill him. And then, hey, and the raptor turns and looks like not gonna do that when they've got the prey right. They're, huh? They don't speak English.
What?
They're not. What? Oh,
Hey, how's it going?
yeah.
Want some coffee?
Yeah. So upon being rescued in the helicopter, Nick reveals that he stole Roland's ammunitions to stop him from killing his intended trophy. But while passing overhead, they notice that Roland did in fact manage to sedate the bull Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah.
As more InGen personnel arrive on the island to secure the mail and evacuate Roland and Ludlow, Ludlow offers Roland a job at the San Diego park, and he declines. I love how he does it too. Just, no, thank you. And then just, but why? And it's just, believe I've spent enough time in the company of death. Full-blown saying, without saying that, what you're doing is going to get a lot of people killed. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all because of what happened with Ajay. I really like that scene. How
Exactly.
everyone's all buzzing around, he's just sitting there.
Ajay didn't make it.
Yep. And I like the when Ludlow's like, oh, look at all the da-da-da-da-da, then congratulations. It's that deleted scene, you, sir, are no gentleman. Is that supposed to be an insult? I can think of none greater. That's Roland's whole character right there.
Yeah.
So he realizes where this is going and he just nopes on it.
Yeah.
And if his health weren't starting to decline, Roland Tembo was supposed to appear in Jurassic Park 3 as well. I don't know in what capacity, but the actor's health was declining pretty quickly.
That's sad, but that would have been so cool to see him again.
Yeah, I really do like him. In San Diego,
Ooh.
Ian and Sarah attempt to meet with Ludlow in order to prevent him from unveiling the attraction. Before they can do this, the ship carrying the male Tyrannosaurus suddenly crashes into the docks. And here's where we get the problems. The crew is found dead, and the Tyrannosaurus is accidentally released from below decks where it was locked. In the book and deleted scenes, it describes that raptors were also brought off the island for reasons, and they got out and killed the crew. They are cut from the movie, but the carnage they did that the Rex couldn't have done stays in the film, creating like the Super Ninja T-Rex plot hole from the first film. Just added just the same level of plot hole into this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you want to say something, Jerry. You go for it.
Go for it.
Dang Super Ninja T-Rex. On the first one, because somehow there's just this gaping hole. Who knows how? And then somehow it ate all the people on a boat. Even my parents, who never call out problems in a movie or anything, called out this T-Rex scene on the boat. They're like, okay, The man's hand is holding the button to close it.
Mhm.
T-Rex is in there somehow. What?
Yeah.
Man's got his hand on the steering wheel. Shouldn't there be a giant hole up here?
Exactly.
Could have edited it where it made sense that he ate them.
Yeah, at least show like destruction that it was him, but they don't. It's like, it's literally it's the same named plot hole, Super Ninja T-Rex, just in a different way.
Yeah,
Instead of
exactly.
climbing a cliff, it's
And another thing they complain about is how did the ship from so far away, where they probably got eaten pretty dang fast, show up at the dock right on target?
it depends on when the
Across the
crew died,
oceans.
right?
But still, there's waves and everything. You always have to make adjustments while you're driving a boat.
True.
Just one little wave hitting you will send you off course so much. So,
That's fair too.
it just
Good
heads
point.
straight into the dock. And another thing I have another complaint about with this dang boat is what is the time frame between leaving that island and getting to San Diego? Because they never specify it.
It would probably be a month or so.
They make it feel like it's the same dang day
Yeah.
because it's still nighttime.
The only indication that time has passed is all the scratches are
Yeah,
healed
that's
on
right.
Malcolm and Hart, but it's never addressed. It
No.
feels like it's the same day.
Because they show like that news report, it looks like it's the next morning
Mm-hmm.
as the boat, and I'm like, but the boat's gone so far from what they're saying.
Yeah.
Wha- And why do you need an entire military navy with it? You need one battleship. That T-Rex gets out, shoot the battleship, and it'll sink.
Exactly.
T-Rexes aren't
can't
gonna swim.
No, not with
Why do you
those.
need an aircraft carrier? What do you need this for?
There's a lot of problems with the ending of this film.
Mm-hmm.
So then they release the T-Rex, and apparently all the people in the customs office don't notice the stomp, stomp, stomp.
That
of the
was
T-Rex.
weird.
I had another problem. I'm like, you're sitting here. Continue doing my paperwork. Oh, I'm missing this. There's a T-Rex right
How did you
stinking
not
there
notice it?
that is roaring. And
Yeah.
you're just... Anyways. It just crashed through your sign next to your building. You didn't hear that? There wasn't
Exactly.
any powers right there. What are you doing?
The final thing I like about this film is that shot of him roaring with San Diego in the background, and then the rest
That
of
was
this is
cool.
a mess. It rampages around the city, and it comes off as like a cheesy 50s monster movie instead of a Jurassic Park film.
Mm-hmm.
There's some slapstick involved, and it's just, man.
That
I
was
do not
weird.
like the ending of this film at all. And that's going to be the hard thing Dominion has to do, because it has the same setup of dinosaurs in the real world. They better not try and do a farcical thing like the end of The Lost World did, because it does not work.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like Jurassic World, when they all escape and they're tearing through Main Street and all that, that worked really well. It was scary, it was fearful. This felt like a joke.
Yeah.
So just make Dominion, while dinosaurs are eating people, scary. You just gotta make it scary and not
That's a bit
cheesy.
easy.
Absolutely. And so Ian and Sarah race to the unfinished park to locate the infant, retrieve it, and take it back to the boat to lure the male back to the boat. Pretty decent chase sequence here.
Uh-huh.
I like the warehouse driving through and the Rex bursting through. No problem with that. It's fine.
Not bad.
Ludlow sees them run past, obsessed with the infant. This part annoys me. Ludlow is not very far behind them. He is like maybe 5 seconds behind them. He can clearly see them, and they could see him if they turned around. That's not Ian and Sarah have the problem with. They run the baby to the cargo hold. Ludlow, who saw them go down there, he had to have...
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Malcolm! Dr. Harding! Where'd you go? And they come running out of the cargo hold without the infant. And instead of being a normal person like, infant's in the cargo hold, he follows them. What did you do with the infant? As they dive off the boat. And then
Why did
here's...
they dive off the boat?
Because the big Rex is coming.
Yeah,
They-
that makes sense.
They hear the baby Rex. He hears the baby Rex. And he goes, looks at the cargo hold. What a shock! The cargo hold! And hello, are you down there? Like, he expects a response after hearing from down.
I don't get that part. Yeah, that was weird.
I do agree that them jumping off the boat made sense, but then my parents kept being like, "This makes zero sense. They could have just gone back up and hid somewhere with the rifle or something." But they just do this swan dive into the water.
I would say that was the wiser choice, because
Yeah.
the Rex
I
saw them with
agreed
the
with that.
baby, so he would probably revenge.
Yeah.
Because
I did
where's the
agree
baby?
with that.
So
Yeah,
I
no.
don't have a problem with dive, but I think that
Yeah.
was a very smart decision.
I thought so too at first, but then they were like, "No," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
I think it's a good decision. So then, for some reason, the bull T-Rex boarding the boat doesn't shake the boat at all. And
There's not a
Ludlow,
sound.
and Ludlow doesn't hear him until it's too late, for some
That was-
reason.
That was very weird.
Something that makes the water go from far away. Super Ninja T-Rex,
Somehow
man.
walking on a ship that is floating on water.
Super Ninja T-Rex, man. Super Ninja T-Rex.
Yeah.
It grabs Ludlow by the leg, breaking his leg, incapacitating him, and allows the infant of Ludlow's obsession to maul him to death. Sarah then uses a tranquilizer gun to sedate the male, but not before a very cheesy glare from the T-Rex. It's like, is it an animal or a person in a costume? Make up your mind, movie.
Mhm.
And-
Godzilla.
Yeah, and then Ian seals the cargo hold doors. In the aftermath, the dinosaurs ship back to Isla Sorna, accompanied by a massive naval escort, while Ian,
Mhm.
Sarah, and Kelly watch Hammond's announcement that the American and Costa Rican governments have declared the island a nature preserve in televised interview, and then we have the final shot of the film, which is a nice shot that shows the Rexes with their kid, and our first look at the pterodactyls as well.
This also makes no sense though, because there's just T-Rexes with their kid, and then right next to them is this herd of Stegosauruses.
Maybe they're not hungry. Who knows?
It's a contrivance, to be sure.
Hmm.
And that is the firm undressing of the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So let's transition to favorite and least favorite scene. Jerry, why don't you start us off with your favorite scene?
Okay, we do complain about the cheesiness of the final San Diego destruction scene, but
Called it!
Peter called it last night when we were watching it.
Called it!
That was amazing.
even I complain about it. But
I don't
You-
like it straight up, but I
You
knew
do
you
like
would.
Godzilla though, so that does make sense.
I like Godzilla too. Mollymauk, what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene was probably T-Rex in the camp, or yeah, I'd have to say T-Rex in the camp was very, very cool.
Same.
I like how it was dead silent except for the sound of the T-Rex for most of the part.
Yeah, the T-Rex chase scene, which culminates in Tembo facing off against the bull. That's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Least favorite scene, reverse
The boat.
order. Okay. Just in general, the boat. We'll do the same order, I guess, Mollymauk.
Sorry, Nick. I'm gonna have to say the San Francisco.
that's completely
San
fine. It is
Diego.
cheesy. I
San,
just like
was it San
destruction.
Diego? My
San
bad.
Diego, yeah.
Okay.
Mine's not, while I don't like it, mine's not San Diego. See, mine's the cringy gymnastics sequence. It's just
Oh.
dumb. I hate it.
I just kind of erased that from my head.
Don't blame you. Now, this is going to be interesting. Overall rating. To be fair, I enjoyed this film more than I thought I would. Jerry, why don't you start us off with your overall rating of The Lost
What
World?
did I give Eternals?
You were like 70 something with Eternals.
65.
65 for The Lost World. Mollymauk?
I haven't done any prior ratings.
So just
So,
jump on
this
in.
This one's just probably a 70 for me.
70.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
And I'm the lowest score with 60. I thought it would be lower than that, but I did enjoy it more than I thought I would. So 60% is where it sits.
Like,
It
I
is-
enjoyed this movie more than Eternals, but movie-based, Eternals is still technically better.
I think I would rather watch Eternals if I'm being honest, because without Roland Tembo, there's not much in this movie. Eddie Carr dies like a third into it, so there's nothing else to watch. And then Roland Tembo leaves with a third left in the film. It's like,
Mhm.
you don't know what to do with
He
your
could he
characters.
could have been present in the Americas.
Yeah. So next up is, of course, the next part of the Jurassic period. We're headed to Jurassic Park 3, where Alan Grant returns. Look forward to that.
My favorite one.
Look forward to that next time. That is everything for this part. So thank you everybody so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're checking out on any other things, follow or whatever the other thing provides. For the Great Movie Ride podcast, I've been Gaston.
I've been Jerryofdom.
And Mollymauk.
And we'll see you in the movies. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.